70% of blown engines I see in my shop could have been avoided. Doing this will save you thousands in engine repairs. Yet most drivers ignore it and end up paying $6,000 to $10,000 for rebuilds. Don't be that guy. Stick around till the end, where I'll drop my bonus secret. The reason my F-150 is still running after 350,000 miles. Let's get started. Tip number 17. Inspect engine mounts. Most people don't realize this. One torn engine mount can wreck far more than your comfort. When mounts dry out or crack, the engine rocks under load. That constant movement stresses the exhaust system, CV axles, and even the transmission. This type of damage can cost owners $2,500 to $3,500, all from a part that costs a few $100. Here's what to do. Pop the hood and have someone shift from park to drive with the brake held. Watch the engine. If it jumps or shifts more than an inch, the mount's worn. Look for rubber peeling away from the metal bracket, or oil saturation if you've got fluid-filled mounts. Don't forget the hidden ones. Transmission and torque strut mounts matter just as much as the main engine supports. I once worked on a car where a broken mount let the engine drop enough to pinch a power steering line. That driver lost steering on the highway. Totally preventable. If you spot movement or damage, replace mounts in pairs, not one at a time. It keeps the drivetrain balanced. Ignore it, and you'll feel the next failure through your wallet. Next up, there's a check you can do in less than a minute that keeps engines from starving to death. Tip number 16. Check for vacuum leaks. This is one of those small problems that snowballs into a nightmare. A simple cracked hose can make your engine run lean, overheat valves, and even melt a piston if ignored. Engines have been destroyed before 70,000 miles because of this $5 hose. Start with the basics. With the hood up, look for dry, brittle, or collapsed rubber hoses around the intake. Pay close attention to elbows and bends. They crack first. Listen for a faint hissing sound at idle. Spray a little carb cleaner or brake cleaner around the suspected area. If the idle changes, you've found your leak. Don't forget the intake manifold gasket. When it starts to fail, you'll often notice a rough, idle, high-fuel trims on a scan tool, or even lean codes, P0171 and P0174. On some GM engines, those gaskets were notorious for shrinking and letting air sneak past. There were whole service bulletins on it. Here's the kicker. A vacuum leak doesn't just waste fuel, it cooks your catalytic converter trying to burn that extra oxygen. That's a $1,000 repair waiting to happen. Catch it early, and all you'll spend is pocket change. And if a tiny crack in rubber can cause that much damage, wait until you see what happens when the throttle body itself gets dirty. Tip number 15. Clean the throttle body and idle air control valve. A clogged throttle body or idle air control valve is sneaky. Engines with buildup here often idle roughly, stall unexpectedly, or hesitate under light throttle. Left unchecked, it stresses spark plugs, ignition coils, and even the catalytic converter. I've seen cars fail emissions tests multiple times because owners ignored this tiny valve. Here's how to handle it. First, remove the air intake hose and inspect the throttle plate. If you see black carbon deposits or sticky gunk, it needs cleaning. Use a throttle body cleaner and a soft brush or rag. Don't spray the sensor directly. For the IAC valve, unplug it, remove it, and soak it in cleaner. Pay attention to the small passages. Even a thin film of carbon can disrupt airflow and cause hunting idle. Small detail most owners miss are to check the mounting gasket. If it's damaged, it can let unmetered air sneak in, defeating your cleaning efforts. Reinstall everything snugly, reconnect vacuum lines, and reset the idle if your car requires it. I've had cars come in that had idle issues for years, and a 10-minute cleaning fixed them. That's thousands in avoided repairs. Now, while airflow is critical, there's another hidden system that manages pressure inside your engine, and ignoring it has blown more motors than most drivers realize. Tip number 14. Inspect the PCV valve and system. The majority of drivers don't know about the PCV valve, or even that it exists. Yet this tiny component controls crankcase ventilation and keeps your engine from turning into a sludge factory. I can't tell you how many cars come through my shop with clogged or stuck PCV valves, completely unnoticed until serious damage shows up. Start by locating the valve, which is usually found on the valve cover and is connected to a small hose leading to the intake. Remove it and shake it. If it rattles, it's moving freely. If it's quiet or stuck, it's time for a replacement. While you're at it, check all connecting hoses for cracks, splits, or oil buildup. A blocked line can pressurize the crankcase, leading to oil leaks, blown gaskets, and in severe cases, warped heads. Some engines have check valves or diaphragms. Inspect these carefully, as buildup can restrict airflow. Replace any faulty hoses or connectors while you're at it. Manufacturers like Honda and Toyota have service intervals calling for PCV inspection every 30,000 miles. But most owners skip it entirely. Neglecting this small system can silently destroy an engine. Stay ahead of problems like this. Like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next round of life-saving tips. Tip number 13. Keep an eye on the timing cover area for leaks. Most drivers never glance at the timing cover, but that's where small oil leaks quietly turn into massive engine problems. A slow drip behind the timing cover can soak belts, pulleys, and even the timing chain. Let it slide, and a snapped chain or belt can destroy your engine in seconds, $3,000 or more in a heartbeat. Here's what to check. Inspect the front of the engine where the timing cover meets the block. Look for oil streaks, dampness around bolts, or pooling at the lower edge near the crankshaft. Dirt and grime often hide slow leaks, so clean the area first and run the engine to catch fresh seepage. Don't overlook older engines with rubber seals. These dry out, crack, and shrink over time. Some GM V8s and older V6 Fords are notorious for this issue, and there are service bulletins urging early inspection. A subtle detail most people miss. Oil can drip onto accessory belts or pulleys, silently wearing them down. Catching the leak early prevents expensive repairs to belts, pulleys, and, worst of all, the timing chain or belt. After this, we move to a critical system that fuels your engine. Skip it, and the engine starves, misfires, or dies. Tip number 12. Check fuel pressure and replace fuel filter. A weak fuel pump or clogged filter can silently ruin an engine. Low fuel pressure makes the engine run lean. That burns valves and damages pistons over time. Some cars won't even start, stranding you and costing hundreds in towing. Start by checking the fuel pressure with a gauge. Compare it to the specs in the service manual. If it's low, you may have a bad pump or a clogged filter. On many cars, the fuel filter is serviceable. Replace it every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, or sooner if you notice hesitation, rough idle, or sputtering under load. Don't forget hidden details. Inspect fuel lines for cracks or leaks. Check the filter's orientation. Installing it backward can restrict flow. Make sure fittings are tight. For electric pumps inside the tank, listen for weak or inconsistent humming when the key is on. A small $25 to $50 filter and a quick pressure check can prevent a $1,500 engine repair. Ignoring fuel delivery quietly destroys your engine. But even with perfect fuel delivery, your car can still suffer strange electrical problems if one critical connection is ignored. Tip number 11. Inspect engine grounds and battery cables. Corroded or loose engine grounds and battery cables can wreck an engine without warning. Low voltage affects sensors, ignition, and fuel injection. I've seen cars misfire, stall, or even fail to start because of nothing more than a dirty ground strap. Start by turning off the engine. Inspect battery terminals for corrosion. White or green powder is bad news. Clean terminals with a wire brush and baking soda solution. Next, trace the ground cables to the engine block and chassis. Look for frayed wires, broken straps, or loose bolts. Tighten connections to manufacturer specifications. Hidden detail most owners skip. Check secondary grounds. Many engines have smaller ground straps near the intake or transmission. Even one loose strap can cause sensors to report false readings, trigger the check engine light, and unnecessarily stress the engine. A well-grounded engine keeps electronics stable, fuel systems accurate, and prevents intermittent stalling that confuses mechanics. Fixing a simple ground today can prevent a $1,000 diagnostic nightmare tomorrow. And once the wiring is squared away, the next weak point is a system that quietly builds pressure until one tiny leak can take the whole engine down. Tip number 10. Flush and bleed the cooling system periodically. Coolant isn't forever. Over time, it breaks down, loses its rust inhibitors, and turns acidic. That eats away at aluminum heads, radiators, and water pumps. A neglected cooling system is one of the top reasons engines overheat and crack. Repairs can run $2,000 or more. My advice is, every 2 to 3 years, drain the old coolant and flush the system with distilled water. Don't just top it off. Old coolant leaves deposits inside passages that block flow. After flushing, refill with the exact type of coolant your car calls for. Mixing the wrong ones can form sludge. Now the critical step most people skip: bleeding the system. Air pockets in the cooling system create hot spots that warp heads and blow gaskets. Use the bleeder screw if your engine has one, or park on an incline and run the engine with the radiator cap off until bubbles stop. Always top off with the right coolant, not plain water. A clean, air-free cooling system keeps temps stable and parts healthy. Skip this, and the next overheating episode may be your engine's last. Now, let's move to a leak that often shows up outside but signals deep trouble inside the engine. Tip number 9. Look for coolant seepage around head gasket area. Head gaskets rarely fail overnight. They usually give small warnings first, and coolant seepage is one of them. Ignore it, and you're looking at a full-blown head gasket job, often $1,500 to $3,000 depending on the engine. Here's what to check. With the engine cool, inspect the area where the head meets the block. Look for dampness, white or green stains, or a sweet smell of coolant. Pay close attention near the corners and under the exhaust manifold. These spots hide early leaks. Hidden detail: dried coolant leaves a chalky trail. Wipe it clean, then recheck after a few drives. Also, watch the coolant reservoir. If you're topping it off often with no visible puddle, the gasket could be seeping internally. Don't confuse oil leaks with coolant seepage. Coolant feels slick, but dries into a crusty residue, unlike oil. A small external leak today can lead to internal mixing tomorrow. Oil and coolant together make a sludge that ruins bearings fast. Catching seepage early can save the engine. Miss it, and the next symptom will be overheating and a dead motor. And speaking of early warnings, the next tip is all about listening. Your engine's first language is sound. Tip number 8. Listen for knocking or tapping on cold starts. Engines tell on themselves the first few seconds after you turn the key. A knocking or tapping sound on a cold start is never just normal. It can point to worn bearings, loose lifters, or oil not reaching the top end fast enough. Ignore it, and you're gambling with an engine rebuild that can cost $4,000 or more. Here's what to do. Start the engine after it's been sitting overnight. Listen closely before the oil pressure builds. A light tick that fades after a few seconds may be lifters. A deeper knock that lingers often means rod bearings wearing out. Don't confuse this with harmless injector ticking. Injectors are rapid and rhythmic, while bearing knock is slower and heavier. Hidden detail: low oil level or clogged oil passages make these noises worse on cold starts. Always verify oil condition and pressure before assuming it's just old age. If you catch the sound early, fixing the cause, like a restricted oil pickup or bad lifter, can save the engine. Wait too long, and that morning knock becomes an all-day death rattle. Now, from listening outside, we shift to looking inside. Your spark plugs carry clues most drivers never read. Tip number 7. Inspect spark plugs for wear or deposits. Worn plugs cause misfires, poor fuel economy, and can overheat the catalytic converter. That's a $1,000 mistake from a $5 part. Here's how to check them. Remove one plug at a time using the right socket. Look closely at the tip. A light tan color is normal. Black sooty plugs mean too much fuel. White, blistered plugs show overheating or lean running. Oily plugs point to valve or piston ring problems. Any cracked porcelain or worn electrodes mean it's time to replace. Hidden detail most people miss. Measure the gap with a feeler gauge. Even if the plug looks clean, an out-of-spec gap strains the ignition coil. Also, check for carbon tracks on the insulator, tiny black lines that signal arcing and misfire. Replace plugs at the interval your manual calls for, often 30,000 to 100,000 miles, depending on type. Use anti-seize sparingly and torque to spec. Too tight cracks heads, too loose causes blowout. Your plugs are like your engine's report card. Read them right and you'll catch trouble early. Next, let's check a cooling part that fails silently until it cooks the engine. Tip number 6, test the thermostat and cooling fans. Engines don't always overheat because they've lost coolant. Many times, it's because the thermostat sticks shut or the cooling fans never switch on. Both problems strike without warning and can crack a cylinder head in one bad trip. Testing is simple. Start with the thermostat. When the engine warms up, the upper radiator hose should gradually heat as coolant flows. If the gauge climbs toward hot and that hose stays cold, the thermostat is stuck. Replace it, don't gamble. They're cheap, but ignoring one can ruin the engine. Now the fans. Turn the AC on. Most cars are designed to kick the fans in immediately. If nothing happens, check fuses, relays, and wiring. Let the car idle. When coolant temperature rises past normal, the fans should roar to life. If they don't, the sensor or motor may be shot. One more tip, listen for weak fans. A slow, tired fan won't cool in traffic, even if it runs. Proper airflow is critical. Overlooking thermostats and weak fans leads straight to overheating disasters. If you want to protect your cooling system for the long haul, click the link above for my video. Doing this will make your car's cooling system last forever. Tip number 5, inspect the radiator and cap. A weak radiator or bad cap can turn a healthy engine into a money pit. Cooling systems run under pressure, usually 13 to 16 psi. That pressure raises the boiling point of coolant and keeps the engine safe. If the cap can't hold it, coolant escapes, the engine overheats, and you're suddenly staring at warped heads. Start with a visual check. Look through the radiator fins for bent sections, leaks, or white crusty residue. Shine a light across the core. Wet or dark spots mean coolant is seeping out. Don't ignore green streaks on the frame or lower hoses. Now the cap. Inspect the rubber seal for cracks or flattening. Check the spring. If it feels weak or doesn't return firmly, replace it. A cap is cheap insurance, but I've seen bad ones cause repeat overheating that mechanics chase for weeks. Never top off coolant with the cap off while hot. The surge of pressure can blow scalding fluid back at you. Always test and replace caps as part of regular service. Next, we'll move to the air your engine breathes. Dirty flow here can be just as destructive as low coolant. Tip number 4, replace air filter and inspect intake ducting. Engines are air pumps, and dirty air starves them. A clogged filter makes the engine run rich, foul spark plugs, and strains the catalytic converter. Ignore it long enough, and you're paying thousands to replace parts that never should have failed. Pull the filter and hold it up to the light. If you can't see through it, the engine can't breathe through it either. Replace it with the correct size and type. Cheap, thin filters collapse and let dirt through. That dust doesn't just sit there, it scores cylinder walls and ruins compression. Now, check the intake ducting. Flex the rubber and plastic tubes leading to the throttle body. Look for cracks, splits at the bends, or loose clamps. Even a hairline crack can let in unfiltered air after the filter, undoing the whole purpose. Some cars have small resonator boxes or secondary ducts. Make sure they're sealed tight. Loose fittings here cause vacuum leaks and poor idle. Fresh air is free horsepower and cheap protection. Neglect it, and your simple filter problem turns into an engine rebuild. Next, we'll look at a sensor that quietly controls every drop of fuel your engine uses. Tip number 3, keep the MAF sensor clean. This is the brain's eyes for airflow. When it's dirty, the computer gets false readings. That means wrong fuel delivery, too rich, too lean, rough, idle, and poor mileage. Ignore it, and you'll wear out plugs, foul the catalytic converter, and risk engine damage. Cleaning is simple, but must be done right. First, disconnect the battery to protect electronics. Locate the MAF between the air filter box and throttle body. Unplug the connector and remove the sensor carefully. Never force it. Use only MAF-specific cleaner, never carb or brake cleaner. Spray the sensor's tiny wires or film gently. Don't touch them with tools or cloth. They're delicate and break easily. Hold the can 4 to 6 inches away, spray 10 to 12 quick bursts, and let it air dry completely for 15 minutes. Do not blow air on it. Reinstall the sensor, reconnect the plug, and tighten clamps. Start the engine. It should idle smoother and respond quicker. Clean the MAF every time you replace the air filter. That small habit saves thousands in fuel system and emissions repairs. Next, we'll check the very first line of defense your engine has. It's oil. Tip number 2, check oil level every 1,000 miles. Changing your oil and checking your oil are two different things, and most drivers confuse the two. I always recommend oil changes every 3,000 miles for older engines on regular oil and every 5,000 miles for vehicles running synthetic. That schedule you should never miss. But here's the part most people overlook. You should be checking your oil level every 1,000 miles. Engines don't wait politely for your next oil change to start burning or leaking oil. A small leak from a valve cover gasket or oil consumption from worn piston rings can leave your dipstick nearly dry well before the change interval. Checking takes less than 5 minutes. Park on level ground, shut off the engine, and let it sit a few minutes. Pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, then check the level. If it's below the full line, top up with the correct grade. Running low even once can destroy bearings, starve the camshaft, or cause overheating. That's thousands in repairs avoided by a quick, regular check. Next up, the number 1 most important habit, the lifeline of your entire engine. Tip number 1, warm up the engine before hard driving. There's a myth floating around that you don't need to warm up your engine anymore. False. Let me break it down for you today. During startup, your oil is cold and thick. It hasn't yet circulated fully through the bearings, camshaft, and lifters. That means critical parts are running almost dry for the first few seconds. Modern oils are good, but they still need time to reach operating flow. If you throw the car into gear and floor it right after starting, you're stressing metal parts that aren't fully protected. Over time, this leads to scuffed cylinder walls, worn bearings, and timing chain stretch. Here's what you should do instead. Start the car, let it idle for 30 to 60 seconds, then drive gently until the temperature gauge starts to rise. You don't need to sit for 10 minutes wasting fuel. That's old school. But giving the engine that short window before hard driving makes a huge difference in how long it lasts. A simple minute of patience can save you years of engine life. Think your car is safe now? Maybe not, because while you're fixing one issue, you might still be committing the everyday mistakes that kill cars the fastest. Don't guess, know for sure. Click the link below to see the worst car mistakes drivers make.